scaling a web app, and that's the mistaken topic. We never scale a web app, we always scale a app service plan. But before that, let's understand what is scaling. See, not necessary our applications will have consistent load throughout. We might have high load on certain days and low load on certain other days. Maybe during, let us say, festival seasons or New Year, or any special discounts which when you offer, suddenly you will see that there is a big traffic coming onto your website. So in these kind of cases, you will have to scale your application. You cannot afford to crash your application because the traffic has increased. You have to scale it. Now scaling is also of two types. One is called as vertical scaling and the other is called as horizontal scaling. In vertical scaling, we are always supposed to manage the RAM and the CPU cores. That means you have to increase RAM or increase the number of cores or increase both. That's called as scale up. And decreasing them is called as scale down. Going up, going down. But that is vertical scaling where the hardware is changed. Many other times hardware is not a problem. We have good speed, good RAM, but the bottleneck will be in terms of the latency which my application is finding with respect to it accessing other applications. I'll explain a little later, but now we want to have horizontal scaling implies we want to run multiple instances of our application on multiple machines so that the load can be properly divided between them. And that's precisely is referred as horizontal scaling. So we have vertical scaling and we have horizontal scaling. What kind of cases we need vertical scaling? Suppose my application is finding bottleneck in executing code which is processor intensive or memory intensive. It needs more RAM. Because of the RAM it is going slow, or because of the CPU speed it is going slow. In those kind of cases we will go for vertical scaling. Bottleneck is in the RAM and the CPU cores. Why? Because the logic implemented requires that much memory, that much processing speed. Then when do we need horizontal scaling? Obviously, one reason I would go for horizontal scaling is availability. By chance, if one server goes down, I always want to have the option of the request getting served by the other. But more than that, what you should know is our application, when it is executing, it is also dependent on certain other resources. So request comes from browser onto the web server where my code is executing. On that web server, we have very good amount of RAM and CPU. There is no problem. But now let us say from that machine, I send a request to database. And database is taking time to give me the response. During that period, my primary application is stuck. The web application is stuck. It is waiting for the response to come from the database. And because that is stuck, other requests cannot be processed. The reason being the number of simultaneous requests which a web server can execute on a given machine is limited. It's not unlimited. So what we would want to do, let this machine have so many requests getting executed parallel. Immediately the next request should go to the other machines, other instances of the app service. And how do we get other instances? By scaling the app service plan. So this type of scaling is referred as horizontal scaling. You might want to have 2 instances, 10 instances, 20 instances. Like that depends on your load, how much load you are going to get on your site. Based on that, you might have that many number of times the instances multiplied. Something very important to know, for every new instance you create, the cost is also going to get multiplied. Based on your original app service plan, if you say now I want 2 instances, 2 times you'll have to multiply the original app service plan, whatever you have taken. So yes, the ability to scale web app exists only in web apps configured for basic, standard, premium. That means the free edition and the shared pricing tier, the free and the shared pricing tier, they don't have ability to scale up. We have only the scale up feature the scaling feature, the horizontal scaling feature. We have only in basic, standard, premium pricing tier. The scale setting takes only seconds to apply, and very important, it doesn't shut down your primary server when you are doing scaling. It just clones it automatically for you. They do not require you to code anything extra. Nothing has to be redeployed. You just go and make the change and it's done. So when you are scaling, you have to just go to, now here is the point to be noted. I go to my app service and you'll see here setting as scale up. At least now in the upgraded portal, they have put this in bracket. You are actually scaling up app service plan. Earlier it was confusion. It would just say scale up without this value in the bracket. So user might assume that he's actually scaling the web app. No, you are not scaling the web app. You are actually scaling the app service plan. So by scale up, we mean what? Changing from, let's say, S1 to S2. Or if you already have S2, changing from S2 to S1. Now little confusion here. How to know what is the current plan? Because you can simply select and everything is boxed only. So to know the current plan, select the box and you will see this is disabled. That means this is the current plan. So I may want to probably scale from S1 to S2. Now you see it is enabled. Here you can have auto scaling feature. Do you see standard? There is something called as auto scaling. But if I take you to there is no scaling in free, there is no scaling in shared, and basic has scaling, but that is only manual scaling. And that too only 3 instances you can scale up to, which is also subject to availability. There is no promise. At that point of time, Microsoft in their data center should have enough amount of hardware for letting you to scale your application. Based on that, they will scale it. It's not a priority. Because basic is pretty cheap and you are not supposed to use for production as such. But here you have auto scaling as well as manual scaling. Both the abilities are here. And you can go up to 10 instances. And you see in premium, it's much more, 20 instances. And beyond 20, if you want, you can go for 100 instances also. But those are not supported in premium. You have the next pricing, isolated. There it will be supported. 100 instances of your web server would be running, isolated. So this is very important, scaling. This is scale up, scale down, whatever you call it. They want you to always go up, but you have to be careful. You should go up and then come down on need basis. That means you don't need to necessarily, and how do I know? How do I know if, here you see it is 1.75 GB memory and 100 total ACU, some CPUs you can think of it. Whereas here in this it is double, 100 has become 200 and 1.75 has become 3.5. Likewise here it again doubles. So should I move from this to this or should I move from this to this? How should I know? You should look at the graphs. You should monitor your application for that. There are graphs generated for memory and for not here. So go to metrics and here you select a metric which is CPU time, not CPU time, CPU percentage. Doesn't look like this providing it, maybe there only in scale up. Here in run history, some graph, I don't have any history, otherwise it is supposed to show me the graph here. It's a fresh application which I created. So we may go to history or check up if you may have to explore a little more in metrics. Something which can get you to know whether you are reaching the maximum threshold or not. If you are reaching the threshold, then double it. Average memory, that is what you can actually look at, 70 MB. So if it is exceeding what is there in your plan, then go and double it. But if you know it is less than 50%, then reduce it. So this charts is what you will have to keep observing. Based on that, you can increase or decrease the plan size. That is scale up. Let's see now what is scale out. As I told you, you can go for manual scaling or auto scaling. This is manual and you can go up to 10 because we are in standard pricing tier. If it is basic, it would allow only 3. So 10 instances, I can say always run 10 instances of my web application. Irrespective of the load, fix it. 10 instances. Obviously not recommended because you are paying 10 times the cost of each machine. So what is recommended in such kind of cases? Better go for enabling scaling here. You have to enable it. Give some name, maybe regular, and what you do now is specify here based on metric or scale to a specific instance count. You can simply do this. In regular, I would say 2 instances. So when no other scale condition is running, we will have 2 instances of our application running at that point of time. But then you can add more condition. This is default condition. So if none of the other conditions apply, automatically this condition will be applied. So I now add additional conditions here. I would say based on scale, that is metrics, add a rule. Scale based on a metric. The rule would say current resource, the demo plan. I want CPU percentage. You see here there is an option. CPU percentage. Somehow this is a bug. It comes here, the screen. But you have to move here only. I don't know why this is happening. You should move your mouse here only. So you have CPU percentage, average, minimum, maximum, sum. It's up to you what you want to put. I leave it as average. If greater than, let's say 80. If CPU percentage is greater than 80 for 10 minutes, I'll change that to probably 5 minutes. Increase the count by 1 and don't do anything for next 5 minutes. Cool down period. I can create a rule. Like that, I can add another rule which says when the resource CPU percentage average is less than 20. So CPU is not used for less than 20. In such kind of cases, if it is consecutive for 5 minutes, usage is less than 20, decrease count by 1. So like this, rules have to be created. You can put instance limit, minimum 1, maximum, you can put that limit. Maximum go up to 5 only. You will say after 5 I don't want to pay more. So stick it. Or minimum you want to have 2. You can put that also. Default. And this itself can be further scheduled. You can say I don't want this all the time from this date to this date when your sale is going on. Or you can say if it is consistent, you can say on a regular days. I want this to be the case when it is working day of the week, maybe Monday to Friday. And likewise, you can create multiple such conditions. This is one set created. You can click on add scale and create one more set. So you have to keep observing how your site is performing, and based on that observation, somebody will have to come here and dedicate time in making these changes as per the need of the hour. Yes, over a period of time, it becomes consistent and then you can leave it. But initially, there has to be time spent on it to understand how you want to scale your application, how it can give the best performance, how is the traffic on your site, daytime it is more, nighttime it is not there, or weekdays it is more, weekends it is less, or it can be other ways. Weekdays it is less, weekends it is more. So all this you'll have to analyze and keep making changes to this. But beautiful thing is, once set, Azure is going to take care of complete scale management. Increasing the number of instances, decreasing the instances, now will be taken care by Azure. That's the most beautiful thing. You can get notification as and when needed. I did not save this yet. Once I save, we can get notified. Alert can be added. Raise one. We can get an alert when new instance is added. We can do that. So go to notification now, and you see email administrators, co-administrators, additional email IDs. You can even have a webhook. One HTTP request will be sent, and there you can capture and write some additional custom code in case you want to. So these are all special features. Just a template which is created for you. In case you are doing ARM template, you can take this template and plug in into your automation code. Save it and you are done. I'm of course discarding it. I cannot demonstrate all these things to you. You should know it as a concept and apply to your production site and see how you are benefiting out of it. Obviously, scale up, scale out, at least scale out is only going to be useful when you have hundreds and thousands of visitors coming onto your website. If you have only few visitors, maybe 10, 20 at a time, you don't even have to break your head on this scale out feature. Horizontal scaling only when thousands of visitors are there on your site. That kind of site you should be working upon. There you need to really worry about this scaling. But the most beautiful thing you should know is we are not programming load balancer. There is a load balancer internally. Request is actually going to load balancer and load balancer is forwarding it to the respective web server. But are we managing that? No. We are only publishing it as one web app. The load balancing is completely taken care by the platform, and that's why we call app services as platform as a service. But if you are not using app service, if you are using virtual machines, you have to deploy your application on a particular virtual machine. Not only one, you will have to take care of deploying on all the virtual machines, whatever is your application. And then the load balancer also you will have to take care of by creating it and then configuring the load balancer to forward the load to the participating virtual machines. All that which you have to do manually when you use infrastructure as a service aspect of Azure, that is virtual machine. here is all automated because of platform as a service. Azure App Service is a platform as a service. That's all in this topic. Thank you.